Hallo zusammen, welcome to another edition of Feedback Sonntag. We are already in Woche 10, so we're getting really close now, right? And I wanted to spend this week focusing on something that did come up earlier on in the term, but it's coming up again in the current unit, and you're seeing it again, and it's this notion of verbs that express either location or direction, okay? And what do we do with that? And again, we encountered this earlier on. We were talking about verbs that in ways to say that we're, for example, going somewhere or that we are somewhere already. So, for example, ich gehe in die Schule. So I'm going into the school. I'm going to the school, and therefore it's in die Schule with the accusative. Versus ich bin in der Schule. All of a sudden now it's in the dative case because I'm already there. I'm no longer going to the school. I am in the school. So it's this idea that okay, well, when we use a verb that expresses movement, then if we have some sort of preposition in place, what follows, the article that follows, the noun that follows, needs to be in the accusative case versus verbs that express location. The article and noun that follows are in the dative case. So that we kind of have down already to some extent. Nonetheless, it's good to have a review of that. Excuse me. But we're seeing it again this unit, and it's almost a more complex version now, because what we're seeing is that we have not simply the same verb that we can use to either express the idea of being stationary or going somewhere, but now we have verbs that are very similar to one another, but we use differently depending on whether or not something is already in place or if we're putting something in place. So for example, we have these verbs, stellen und stehen. We have the verb legen und liegen, setzen und sitzen, und hängen und hängen. And the hang is a bit of a special case that we'll talk about later on. But so these are verbs that basically mean kind of the same thing. They express the same idea in terms of how something is being placed or how something is placed. But again, the verb itself changes and how the verb is conjugated then changes as well. So let's start with the idea of so stellen und stehen. And so stellen as a verb means to place something vertically. Okay? And then stehen means something is already standing, to stand. So we could say, for example, sie stellt das Glas auf den Tisch. So she's putting the glass on the table, right? She's putting it vertically, so we're using stellen. We're not going to use legen, which would be to place something horizontally. So we're just putting the glass vertically on the table. So sie stellt das Glas auf den Tisch. Okay, and you can see there as well, auf den Tisch. It's an accusative case because it implies movement again. Versus then, if we wanted to say like the glass is already on the table, we wouldn't use stellen anymore. We can't use stellen because that implies movement. We have to use stehen. So das Glas steht auf dem Tisch. So again, there, different verb, stehen versus stellen, and now we're using the dative case here because the glass is already on the table. Das Glas steht auf dem Tisch. So that's the difference between stellen and stehen, right? We're talking about something standing somewhere, an item of furniture standing somewhere in a room, or the act of putting something vertically onto something else. So that differs then from liegen versus legen. So again, legen is the act of placing something horizontally onto a surface. So for example, legt den Teppich auf den Boden. So he's putting the rug on the floor. Versus then, if we're using liegen, which means to be laying down already, der Teppich liegt auf dem Boden. And that was one of those questions in the tongue controller that you completed on Thursday night, where we wanted to see the verb liegt there, because in that case, the rug was already lying down on the floor. No one was putting it down there, it already was lying on the floor. So in that case, we have to use legen instead of legen. Okay? But again, you see in both cases, legt den Teppich auf den Boden, accusative, versus der Teppich liegt auf dem Boden, in that case, dative case, okay? So again, you can see the similarities there from what we talked about early on in the course, but again, now we have the other added feature, which is, well, the verbs look pretty similar, but they do in fact have very specific uses. We have to be aware of that. The next one then is the difference between setzen and sitzen. Again, another one, there's only a single vowel that changes there, but it means a whole different thing. So setzen is to sit, right? And it's the idea of to sit something somewhere. So there one could say, ich setze mich auf meinen Stuhl. So I'm sitting on the stool or on the chair. And in this case, it's kind of a reflexive verb as well, because I'm saying, well, I'm sitting myself on the chair. So you want to just say, ich setze auf meinen Stuhl. You have to say, ich setze mich auf meinen Stuhl. I'm placing myself on the chair. But again, it implies movement, right? I'm physically moving myself. I'm sitting on that chair. Versus then, ich sitze auf meinem Stuhl. In that case, you're saying, well, I'm already sitting on the chair. Ich sitze auf meinem Stuhl, right? So again, meinem Stuhl, besitzen, versus meinen Stuhl, besetzen. Very similar, but different uses again there. The final one then is hängen, and again, we're using hängen in both cases. Now again, and the conjugation as well does remain consistent if we're talking about it in the present case. Now there are some differences in the past tense. I don't want to focus on those right now, but I just want to look at how hängen again means something different depending on whether we're talking about movement, direction versus location. So the verb hängen that implies direction is to hang something, right? To physically hang something. So du hängst den Spiegel an die Wand versus hängen that is more location based, which would be to be hung, and therefore der Spiegel hängt schon an der Wand. Okay? So again, you can see there, du hängst den Spiegel an die Wand accusative, versus der Spiegel hängt schon an der Wand. Der Wand is then dative. So really, you're going to encounter these a lot, this unit. Guarantee you'll encounter this kind of stuff on the final exam as well. So it's just a matter of knowing if there's a blank there, right? And they're asking, okay, well, what verb goes in that position? What verb do we need to use? Are you using stehen? Are you using stehen? One of the biggest cues, I think there are kind of two cues, right? The first clue that you're looking for is, okay, well, let's understand the context of the sentence. Does it seem like we're talking about actually moving something somewhere, or are we simply talking about something already existing and just describing the location? The second piece you can look for, though, is, okay, well, what case is the article in? Or is it in the accusative case? Is it in the dative case? And that's your major clue, right? If you see that it's used in the accusative case, you know it's going to be something like stellen, legen, setzen, hängen, versus if it's in the dative case, automatically switch over to stehen, liegen, sitzen, hängen. Okay? So with so many of these things, and I want to try to reinforce as much as I can, look for the clues. In many cases, when you're presented with a question on a quiz or final exam, and they're looking for something in a blank, as soon as you know there's something that is in a blank already, there's so many different kind of contextual clues that can play a role and help you understand what to actually look for. So use that to your advantage. Look at the clues, look at the context, and then have that help inform what should go in that blank. Okay? That's about it for this week. One thing you'll notice coming tomorrow is that the evaluations for 102 are coming online. We would certainly encourage you, please, to fill out those evaluations. It's always useful to hear your thoughts about the course and about the way it was taught. It helps inform what we do in the future as well. So if you have the time to do so, please fill out that evaluation. Otherwise, we're going to keep on going. Want to let you know as well that come near to the end of the term, we won't have the final week dedicated to yet another unit in the course with another Anreise Polizeikontrolle. Instead, we'll spend that last week expressly preparing for the final exam. So if you started thinking about, well, what does the final exam look like in this course, rest assured we'll get to that in a little bit. So for now, just worry about the next unit, and we'll talk soon. Okay, tschüss.